many more? How many more? What is this going to take for the government to wake up, for people to realise that these are not just one-off things anymore? We're in danger. Our children are in danger.
Would you actually consider running for office? The country is obviously in deep political trouble. Deep, 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 dark political trouble with terrifying times ahead. So what is the answer? Well, Lucy Connolly has been teaming up with Reform UK and its leader, Nigel Farage, prompting much disdain and fury from the mainstream media, who think she should permanently be thrust out of the conversation. But look at the reaction. Look at the reaction when she appeared on stage at Reform UK's conference in Birmingham and was welcomed like a returning hero, even receiving a standing ovation.
Really love to use my experience to work with, hopefully, reform in the future. and overhaul the prison system, especially the women's estate. It doesn't work. It's a waste of all of our money, and it just needs... we could let 80% of the women population out of prison and none of us would be any danger. They need housing, they need mental health, they need rehab, and they just need people to care. That's it.
Yeah.
So, Lucy Connolly, have you joined Reform UK as the start of a political career?
Well, I certainly am a member of Reform now, yes. And then I've been doing a few local events with them, and I've got a few things in the pipeline. And I'm hoping to meet with Sarah Potchin. Is it Potchin?
Potchin, yeah.
Potchin and her team to discuss the things in the future. And yeah, I'm hopefully that we're going to be able to work together and put some things in process for when if and when they do win the elections to reform the system as it currently is, because as we know, it doesn't work. We've seen that this week. I mean, how many people do they accidentally want to let out of prison?
God, I know. Absolute joke, isn't it? Absolute joke. Would you ever consider running? I mean, you've obviously got a husband who is a frontline politician for the Conservative Party. Would you actually consider running for office?
I don't know. I mean, I would never completely, dismiss the idea, but do you know what? Politics is a nasty game, as we've seen. I just don't know whether I want to be a part of that. I mean, poor Sarah the other day when she made, some comments on her views on adverts, she got absolutely crucified, on social media and by the mainstream media. And I just think it was just her opinion, and I don't like all this in politics. I just think that everyone should be allowed their opinion. It doesn't matter which party you're representing. And I don't know if I want to be a part of that. I think I'd rather be kind of in the background, giving, advice on my lived experiences within the prison system.
Yeah, it was terrible what happened to Sarah Poacher, because remember, what she was saying was backed up by statistics. There are 4 to 5% black people in this country, yet they feature in over 50% of ads. So that's the point that she was talking about. But of course, it was decontextualized to try and turn her into a racist. And Lucy, the same thing did happen to you. That degree of political nastiness happened to you. And it was almost like they thought there was a, way to get at Nigel, to cancel Reform UK by saying they shouldn't have put you on that conference stage. Dan Wootton Outspoken is available as a podcast too. So to listen or watch us on the go, wherever you are, then please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as a personal favour to me, please rate and review, as it really helps our independent.
Well, they're obsessed, aren't they? Did you see the interview with Nadine Dorries
Yes.
on Good Morning Britain? You know, they
Yes, they
had
pummeled her.
an MP on there, and they used their whole time to try and, you know, slander me. And again, whatever you think about me, I've done my time. It's regardless whether you're Team Lucy or not Team Lucy. People that go to prison eventually, unless you've done something really, you know, like heinous and you've got a life sentence, people are getting out. So these lefties that are, you know, wishing harm on me, do they not believe in rehabilitation and giving second chances then? Because that, you know, it's very double standard, isn't it? Considering everything else they shout about.
It's the
So,
irony of the be kind woke mob,
absolutely.
who are actually
And
the
like I said,
least kind people in society.
100%. I know we don't call them the Be Kind Brigade for nothing, do we? But yeah, like regardless of how you feel about what I said, the fact of the matter is I spent 12.4 months behind bars, away from my family, and I've now got a, you know, answer to probation until March 2027. You know, I've done my time.
And it was for a
What do you want me?
singular
Stoned in
post
the
on
stoned in
X.
the street?
100%.
What are you trying to achieve here?
100%.
Move on.
But what was quite interesting, Lucy, is that despite the controversy, Nigel Farage brought you onto his GB News show. And this is the first and only time that you have appeared on that channel. It was a fascinating discussion because it's very clear to me that Nigel is so conscious of the mainstream media criticism. So he was making it very clear that he wasn't endorsing your post on X, but I think he was sympathetic to the broader point. So for people who missed it, let's just take a look at the highlights of that moment when Nigel chose to interview you.
What I know, you know, you live in the heart of England, married to Ray, a Conservative councillor, a mother, a childminder over the course of the last 10 years. Have you yourself been, you know, on X, Twitter as it was, have you been very political in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I get involved in the politics and a good old debate on X. I'm known for that, but always never personally attack anybody. You know, always keep to the facts. I accept that, you know, we're never all going to agree, and that's absolutely fine. But, you know, I don't wish harm on anyone that doesn't agree with my opinions and my political opinions, as has been wished on me and yourself. Yeah. And, you know, that's wrong.
No, and I mean, in fact, in your work as a childminder, you know, a Nigerian GP whose daughter you cared for described you as the kindest British person I know. So that was quite a testament. I mean, we were all, you know, deeply shocked by what happened on that day. And it was later on in that day at 8:30 in the evening that you put out this particular post. Mass deportations now. Set fire to all the effing hotels full of the bastards for all I care. While you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them. I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure. If that makes me racist, so be it. And that's what you put out at 8:30 that evening. Clearly, what you said there was intemperate, because what I found interesting was that 3.5 hours later, having taken the dog for a walk, you deleted the message.
Yeah, I did, because as I've said before, it wasn't my finest moment. And I know that was an awful thing to say and it wasn't the right thing to say. So, you know, when I wrote that tweet, I was just so emotionally charged and upset and just... I still, to this day, can't quite believe that somebody's dropped their children off at a dance class, at a Taylor Swift dance class, and never got to pick them up. And the worst part of it is I do know how that feels. And it's just beyond comprehension that that happened, or, you know, and then you begin to think, am I going to drop my child off at gymnastics next week, etc.? Is there some nutter going to go in there and do the same thing? Is it safe? Can I let them go? And all this crazy stuff goes through your head, and it, you know, and it just sent me into, for want of a better word, an overdrive.
So it was an interesting discussion, wasn't it, Lucy? Because Nigel obviously feels intense pressure when he's interviewing someone like you, because he knows how much the mainstream media are looking to cancel him. What's he been like with you privately? But first, as we get older, you notice it. After a cold, a hard workout, even a long week, recovery just isn't as quick as it used to be, right? That bounce back factor matters. And it turns out the secret isn't luck, it's stem cells, your body's built-in repair crew. With age, that system slows down. Fewer cells, weaker signals, slower recovery. That's exactly why Qualia created Qualia Stem Cell. Think of it this way. Your cells are powerful. Qualia Stem Cell helps keep them that way. It's crafted with nature's heavy lifters, sea buckthorn, royal jelly, and more to support your body's natural repair system so you can keep moving, healing, and thriving. You don't have to accept slowing down. This is about supporting better aging by reactivating the systems that help you bounce back. And it's refreshingly simple. You take it just 4 days a month. So if you've ever felt like your body just doesn't bounce back like it used to, whether it's after a tough workout, getting sick, or just the wear and tear of life, this is for you. Qualia Stem Cell was designed to support your body's natural repair systems, helping you heal, recover, and keep going strong. And right now, you can try it for up to 50% off at qualialife.com/Dan. And here's a bonus. Use the code Dan for an additional 15% off your order. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan. Your body's built to repair itself. Qualia just helps it do it that better. And a big thanks, by the way, to Qualia for sponsoring this episode of Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Yeah, Nigel's great. I've had lots of conversations with him off the camera. I always find him engaging and willing to listen, and you know, and actually just a quite a well-rounded guy, and kind of lives in the real world. That's kind of how I see him.
What did you make of his comments about what we have been seeing on the streets of East London over the past couple of weeks? It was, to me, the old Nigel coming back. And to be honest, Lucy, I was delighted to see it because I think we need more of this straight talking. He described the scenes as looking like an invading army taking over our streets.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to remember, and Nigel himself, this is the type of people that are going to vote for Nigel are the type of people that are agreeing on his stance. You know, he said that, and everyone's sitting there nodding their heads and going, yes, you're right. Yes, brilliant. Somebody's got to say this because, you know, no one else is going to in the government, in the establishment. And I think he needs to be like keeping it up because nobody's going to nobody that votes for him or is going to vote for him is going to hold that against him, but they might hold it against him if he starts kind of, worrying about upsetting the left or upsetting, everybody, because this is, to me, what reform's all about: common sense and, that ability to say stuff that perhaps other people daredn't say. And if they kind of rein that in, as long as they're doing it in a legal, manner, not derogatory, all of those things, good for them. And what they don't want to do, in my opinion, is make the mistake that the Tories made over the last 14 years, not being Tories. So, everyone that used to vote for them now won't vote for them because they don't stand for what the Conservatives, typically stand for, and people aren't down with that. So they've lost all these voters. So Reform don't want to be losing voters because they're appeasing the wrong people, if that makes sense.
Yes.
The people that are going to vote for Nigel and his team are not going to be offended by most of the comments that he makes.
Well, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite,
Exactly.
actually. Because, I mean, it's very obvious that we do have a problem with Islamism. And if we're not talking about it, then it's never going to change. But of course, we also have a major problem with the not just illegal, but legal migration of Islamists into the UK. And last week, Lucy, seeing Wayne Broadhurst bludgeoned to death in broad daylight, allegedly, and you know I'm always transparent about this, we have to be careful because of the UK's draconian contempt of court laws, but allegedly, and he will face trial, by an Afghan migrant who arrived here illegally on the back of a lorry in 2020, but was then given leave to remain by the Conservative government, is a complete disgrace. And it just felt, Lucy, like that crime just wasn't spoken about. Like, it was never raised in PMQs because I guess there's that sort of conspiracy of silence amongst the main parties, aren't they? Obviously, Reform UK doesn't get a question, and Labour doesn't want to talk about it for very obvious reasons. They're in power. It raises too many difficult questions. The Tories don't want to talk about it because really they're to blame for the fact that this alleged killer is in the country. But it sickened me, the fact that there was not one mention of Wayne Broadhurst in the House of Commons, not one mention whatsoever. And within about 24 hours, everyone had just moved on. Now, I obviously wouldn't show it on the programme, Lucy, because I think it's people's choice to watch footage like that. But I did watch Wayne Broadhurst being bludgeoned to death on X. And it's the type of footage that will be ingrained in my brain for the rest of my life. And I just start to think that there is now a conspiracy of silence amongst our elite class, just not to talk about these things, just to pretend that they're not happening.
And that's why people like you are really important, and people like I, because, and I made a point to my friend the other day, and I think it's a really important one, because we all say, how many more? What is this going to take for the government to wake up, for people to realise that these are not just one-off things anymore. We're in danger. Our children are in danger. And this really sad thing about the Wayne was, not only did he not get the coverage that he deserved and his family deserved, but then 2 days later, we've got some maniac running around on a train stabbing people, and everyone's talking about that. So really quickly, they've moved on from Wayne to this nutter that was stabbing people on trains. And then in 2 days' time, there'll be something else. And then in 2 days' time, there'll be something else. And in 2 days' time, there'll be something else. So it seems like these poor people aren't getting the recognition they deserve anyway. And then everyone's quickly moved on because we've got another atrocity that's happened. No longer are we in a situation where it's a rare incident, and just the last couple of weeks have shown us this. So
Yes.
How many more innocent people have to die or have to be injured, families have to be destroyed, before this government acts and says, do you know what, we need to do something?
Totally. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And you know what? With the train attack, it was almost like it was so much easier for people to say, oh, well, it's not an issue because this person is British born. Just need to remind everyone, Axel Rudikabana was British born. The 7/7 Islamist terrorists were British born. That is not the start and the end of the discussion, let me tell you. And if that's how we view it, then more and more of this is going to happen. The problem is we are led... Oh, sorry, you come in, Lucy.
Sorry, how many people have been in the system that they're watching, that they're aware of a danger to us, but they're not acted upon because they are of colour or from a culture where they're worried about upsetting? They might be, Muslims, or they're black, or they're Asian, and this is not me being, oh, we don't act upon, it's fact. We've seen that with the, Axel Kadabana. We've seen that it was brushed under the carpet. A head teacher with a lot of experience trying to do her job was shut down because they didn't want to, say anything about a black boy. The same happened to me in prison. I got verbally attacked by an Asian girl when I arrived in Drake Hall. She was renowned for being, an absolute bully and terrorizing people in the jail. I was the one that had the prevent duty talking to me because she said I was racist, this, that, and the other, because they're scared to death. If somebody of colour makes a complaint or plays up, they're scared to death that they're going to be called racist, and we need this to stop. It's irrelevant. It should be irrelevant your skin color or your culture. If you're a danger to us, you're a danger to us, and you should be. An action should be taken. They need to just quit with this. They might call us racist. They might say we're Islamophobic or whatever it might be. If there's evidence there to suggest somebody is a danger, they need to act upon it.
Totally.
We've got the grooming gangs, we've got Axel, we've got,
How many more times? How many more times? Because do you remember with the Ariana Grande bombers as well?
I'll never forget that.
Yeah, but the security guard admitted at the inquiry, just like we've seen with Rudy Cabana, that he was too scared of taking action and properly doing his job because he was fearful of being called racist. So it's what I describe as woke tyranny. It is woke tyranny, and it is designed to shut us all down. Now, to describe me as a racist is the most lunatic thing anyone could do. I mean, literally, I've lived my whole life completely colorblind, so I just don't care anymore. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
I just don't care. It's like,
and I'm the same, and when this first happened to me, I was absolutely heartbroken, and I kept saying to my family, I'm going to have to walk out this prison and walk down the street, and then people are going to be saying, there's that racist, which I don't want anyone to think that of me. Not that I care about anyway. But, it's become such a throwaway insult and a throwaway comment now. You just like that, oh, okay, I'm a racist then.
100%. 100%. It's become a meaningless put down, which is, I believe, connected to woke tyranny. I really, really do. And we can't give into it.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.